All right, so I missed reading one of the names on the list on the rifle giveaway, and so I want to give his shout out now. He gets his own. It's my fault for missing his name, so Mr. Carl Tennant. Sir, thank you so much for your support. I literally can't do this channel without support from people like you, so thank you so much, man. And then the rest of you, if you want to jump on board on Patreon, I'll link that in the description coming up here pretty soon. So, yeah, let's roll the intro. Mr. Carl Tennant, thanks so much, sir. Hey there, YouTube world. Matt Schwartz, Welding Geek here. And on this episode of the Welding Geek, I'm going to make this right here, the beskar spear out of titanium. So if you want to see how I went about fabricating this, stay tuned to the video. Alright, so I used that life-size stand-up of the Mando to draw the spear. So I got a pretty good representation here, I feel like. And I'm going to take this drawing that I made and go ahead and mark out all my tubes. I'm going to go ahead and make this out of multiple pieces instead of one long tube for a couple different reasons. Number one, we had smaller tubes and I wanted to use up those before I went and grabbed the full-length tube. The other is it just makes it easier to turn on the lathe, because if you put a big long tube in the lathe, there can be problems with that. So I'm going to go ahead and lay out all my machining lines here at my table, and I'll head over to the lathe and do all the machining over there. Kind of what I'm marking out are the little rings around the tubes and just where everything kind of ends up. So now that I got that done, it's time to go turn all this stuff on the lathe. So the first thing I'm going to do here is just square off all my tubes to make sure the mating surfaces when I go to weld them will be nice and even. And then the next thing I'm going to do is turn in the little indent rings that are on the shaft here. And then after I get done doing that, I'm going to turn the end piece so it'll be able to fit inside of the tubes. So let's go ahead and watch me do that here. Alright, now that I have the end machined down to fit inside the tube, the next thing I'm going to do is actually turn down it a little more, just about a half of an inch of the end here, and that's so I can fit it inside my drill, so I can go ahead and grind the point on the end here. And as you see here, this end will now fit into a drill, so I can take it over to the belt sander and grind some more. Now it's time to grind this thing to a point, so I'm going to go ahead and start grinding. And then I'm going to grind some more. And then I'm going to keep on grinding. Alright, so I cut a bunch of the grinding out, but now I've got it to the point almost to where I want it. I'm going to go ahead and take down the grit of the belt here and just kind of polish off the end to make it nice and smooth. Alright, now that I have everything ground, I'm going to go ahead and use my little templates here, glue them down onto my titanium, and then we're going to go over to the bandsaw and cut out our little blades here on the bandsaw. So you can't really use just a typical bandsaw blade to cut out titanium. We have this constant grit blade. It's kind of like a bunch of, I don't know how to explain it. It's a very expensive blade to cut this titanium, and it cuts it very nice. So now that I have it cut out on the bandsaw, I'm going to go ahead and weld it to my point here. So welding titanium is very different than welding really anything else. The most similar metal would probably be stainless, but technically titanium needs to be welded in a purge chamber, ideally, but it's not absolutely necessary. What you're going to see here with me welding the titanium is not the way that you would do it, like I would say for welding parts on the race cars we build. This is just a quick job. It's not nobody's safeties on the line for this part, so I'm just gonna weld it kind of how you would weld it, but I'll explain how you should weld it while I'm going through this process here. If you don't have a purge chamber, what you want to do is basically weld about 5 or 6 puddles at a time and then let it cool under argon. Because what happens if you pull the argon away, the bead will crystallize and it will crack. And you also need to have the back side of the weld under argon as well. So we use a back purge for that. So technically the weld is welded completely in argon. It just takes a lot longer. You could weld it continually if you were in a purge chamber, but you're basically just making a miniature purge chamber with your TIG torch and with the argon backer. So it takes a really long time, but I'm gonna go here pretty quick. Not as quick as I normally would. I'm still kind of welding probably 8 or 10 puddles and then stopping and then letting it cool. And this process here is being shown at 20 times speed. But you can see there's no discoloration in the weld, and that's a good thing. It should be nice and pure and titanium looking. If you pull your argon away, you'll notice like a crystalline weird color. It almost turns yellowish, and that's bad. But anyway, I'm not doing anything super important here, so I'm just kind of going quickly. I just wanted to go over titanium welding real quick while you guys are watching me do this. As you can see here, I got the end pummel already turned out off camera, so I went ahead and did what's called a rosette weld on that. And now I'm going to actually go ahead and weld together my whole entire shaft here. If you're welding on tubing like this, what you'd actually do is tape off one of the ends with like some masking tape and then purge argon all the way through that tube while you're welding it on the outside, so the inside is fully welded under argon as well, so you don't get that crystalline cracking that happens when you weld titanium without argon all over it. As you could probably tell from earlier, grinding titanium is a bear. It's really hard. So I decided here to go ahead and smooth out my weld beads so I don't have to grind as much. This is not something you would typically do on titanium, but I'm going to do it. It's just putting a lot more heat than what's necessary, but like I said, nobody's safety's on the line here for the spear, so I'm kind of doing things you would not do typically on titanium. Now that I have the majority of my welding done, I'm going to go ahead and smooth out these welds to make it look like one piece. Now that I have all my pieces dressed down, I'm going to go ahead and weld on the point. Then I'll get it dressed down and the spear will be done. So let's go ahead and watch me do that. And alright, that is the beskar spear build video. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Hope you can kind of see the details. They kind of blend in. The 3 little notches in there. 3 more little notches. Then the end pummel here. Get that. Oh, get you up close. At the end, I actually was thinking about sharpen this to an actually edge, but then because I used to make titanium knives, I could do it pretty well, but I don't think it needs it. Quite frankly, that makes it a little more dangerous, and I can just see somebody coming in and grabbing it and messing with it and cutting themselves. So I just left it blunt, so I can't really hurt anybody, at least with the edge, or somebody can hurt themselves. But I hope you guys enjoyed that video. Titanium's a bear, man. It's tough to work with, but I'm really happy with what I made. Yeah, grinding this point, man, it took a long time to grind all that material away. Titanium is very resilient. And man, listen to the pitch of this thing. I can't get over this. Obviously, as you can tell, I've been like every video for like the last 3 or 4 uploads. I've been striking this thing. And just, that is super cool. Anyway, what I got coming up next, I've got a couple things. I have been looking for a lightsaber for my Revan for literally months and months and months. I had 2 bad scenarios, or whatever you want to call it, 2 bad dealings with a couple different people, but I finally found one, and I finally got actually a shipping confirmation today. So that will probably be my next video. Will be the unboxing of the Revan lightsaber. I got it from the patch store. I'm really excited about it because I've been looking. I was kind of waiting for Saberforge to kind of re-release theirs, and they just haven't been doing it. And I really would like to finish that Revan build. You know, some people have been asking for that, and I didn't want to do like the final strut and stuff like that until I had a stinking lightsaber in my hand, because this didn't feel right. And I also got some boots. I'd like to do probably a video on the boots, because I'm going to recover part of it, and it'll just be a simple video to do. I'm going to do it, so I might as well record it, right, and get some more content out there. What I'm actually working on at work is going to be a build from Skyrim. It's actually a mod from Skyrim. It's called the Kenreave armor, I think is how you say it. I don't know if I'm going to be able to pull it off. It's very complex, but I really wanted to challenge myself. The Mando build was an extreme challenge. I know that helmet looks simplish in design, but usually the stuff that's round and smooth is actually way harder to do. But I really want to kind of push myself again to see if I can conquer another mountain. So I'm going to try to do that Kenreave armor, the whole thing, I hope. But I'm going to start with the helmet, and if I can pull the helmet off, and then I'm just going to move on to the next piece until I fail. And if I can't do so, then I'll just cut the build off. But the next kind of big build video I'm hoping will be the helmet of that Kenreave armor. Or, yeah, you'll have to Google it or whatever, but it looks pretty cool. So that's what I'm in the process of drawing up right now. Kind of a little jump from Star Wars into something else, because this channel's been a lot of Star Wars, which is awesome, because obviously I love Star Wars, but I just kind of wanted to expand my horizons a little bit, get some different, reach out to a different fan group, you know, video games and that kind of stuff, and to try to draw more people into my channel. So I'm excited about that. What else is on the horizon here? Well, I also ordered a Mando blaster from a guy, so I'll do an unboxing video on that, because I actually, the one that I have now is 3D printed, and it was 3D printed by the same guy, but I'm going to get a finished one from him, just because they look amazing, and I wanted something a little nicer for me. And I think I will eventually do a video on actually building a metal one of those, but it's just not in my foreground right now. And I do also plan on making the jetpack eventually. Kind of waiting for a lot of better references to show up, and I just kind of need to step away from Mando for just a little bit to get refreshed on that build, because you spend so much time with something and you kind of get burnt out on it. But I'm really excited with what I've accomplished so far. I also have plans. I've got the chest plate started, the drawing of the chest plate started for Bo-Katan. I really want to do her armor, but like I just said, I just need a little bit of a breather. And also the Mando stuff is not on the top of people's minds anymore. I've seen a big drastic decline in views of the Mando stuff, so I'm going to try to do something else for a little bit to see if that piques some people's interest. But yeah, this was an awesome build. This thing is so awesome, I just want to throw it. That's something. Yeah, it's long and I'm in a small room, but anyway, that's a long outro right there. My name's Matt Schwartz. I'm the Welding Geek. Thanks for staying tuned, guys. Subscribe if you like my channel and all that. Anyway, yeah, stay tuned, guys. There's a lot more coming.